Welcome. You are at the CCC.
Where there are no outside issues with Bonnie Violet
and Lulu.
Each week, we will provide and create a brave space where we engage in conversations around topics of recovery.
And our intention is to inspire better spaces for more people in recovery
by tackling topics used to separate us.
So before we do that, please like, comment, and share this episode with anybody you think might appreciate it. So
that's the end of our notes.
Absolutely. No, I know we made sure to take notes. Actually, we were going to this. If you don't know, this is our kind of 0 episode. This is our first episode before we officially kick off. And so we wanted to take an opportunity to kind of introduce ourselves and talk about what we're about and what At the CCC is about.
What it's all about.
Yeah. So let's start with At the CCC. What is the CCC?
Yeah, well, the CCC stands for the Castro Country Club,
yes,
which is a space for queer recovery in the Castro.
In the Castro, and don't be fooled, we don't have golf courses or.
It's nice, but it's not bougie.
Absolutely. Well, so after the remodel, it's a little bougie.
It's a little
for
bougie.
Us. Yeah. So yeah, and here at the club, basically provides a safe space through meetings. There is a jobs program. There are monthly drag shows. Just all sorts of ways for folks who are in recovery, no matter what kind of recovery, to kind of get involved again with the community.
Mm-hmm. It's a really great place just to come by, have a cup of coffee,
absolutely,
chill in the back for a while, even with shelter in place right now.
Absolutely, and they have an espresso machine, not just a Mr. Coffee pot like some places.
Right, and it's Pete's coffee.
Oh yeah, it's Pete's coffee, and it's good coffee.
Not Kevin or Bob's or Joe's, but Pete's.
And not Phil's, because that's dangerously close to a relapse.
Right. Oh, funny.
Exactly. So yeah, we were going to introduce ourselves. It's like, Bonnie, why don't you start?
Oh, of course. Why don't I start? Yeah. So I guess, what do we say? I'm Bonnie Violet, and I'm so used to saying I'm a transgender, queer, spiritual drag artist, because that's what I say in other places. So that is a little about me, and I'm also in recovery. So I am originally from Idaho, a little small town there, and that's also where I got sober about 13 years ago. Which you and I we're right around the same time, aren't we?
Absolutely. Well, I have 12 years. I
12 years.
Just came up on. So I came in and out a year after you.
Well, I technically still just have 12 until next month.
Okay. Well, so. Hey.
We are the same age.
It's a good time. Yeah.
Yes. How about you?
So I'm Louis. Lulu. I like to be called Louis, Lulu. The only thing I will not answer to is Lou. I don't know why that is. I mean, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. Like I said, I'm in recovery from drugs and alcohol. I've been in recovery for 12 years. And also, I am a gay Black man, if you haven't noticed. I'm shining and queer. And my pronouns are he and Louis. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. I mean, I think that the beautiful thing about doing something like this is that you'll get to know more of me as we go on. That's kind of just how I am in relationship anyway. I don't give you more than you need before you need it.
You don't vomit out all your
no.
private stuff right from the get-go.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Not on the first date.
Oh, look at Michael's already signed on.
Right?
Yeah.
Hello, Michael. It's good to see you there.
Right on. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking, so why are we doing this podcast?
Well, you were talking before about like your involvement, your spiritual self. I myself, I wanted to be a part of a podcast, and for a few months, I participated in another podcast that really was focused on. It was I think that the gift, it was 3 men of color, and it was an opportunity for us to kind of dissect different topics based on, our thing. And so but recovery has become my life. I mean, I have always said, it's not an interruption of my life. It is my life. I have to find a way to kind of weave what I do here into my life as it exists. And so it's only natural to want to continue to have conversation with folks about this. And I figure after listening to a number of podcasts, podcasts are a great way to kind of engage because to me, I always feel like when I'm listening that I'm really a part of the conversation, other than the fact that I can't like chime in.
Right.
But it just feels like we're in a nice cozy living room and talking, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, I do. What to say about that? Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way, it's like my whole life, like everything in my life is a product of being in recovery. I
Absolutely.
know that if I wouldn't have gotten recovery, I wouldn't be living in San Francisco. I don't even know if I would be alive, to be honest.
Yeah.
So recovery has definitely not only like saved my life and not only helped me to survive, but I feel like I'm at a time in my life when I'm actually thriving and I'm actually like living beyond the capacity that I ever thought I really could.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Now they say a life beyond your wildest dreams.
Hmm.
I think that when you well, sometimes we can limit ourselves. Sometimes we put a cap on what we can achieve.
Uh-huh.
And I think that the gift of recovery, of continuous recovery, of doing the work, whatever that work is, helps us to kind of broaden our horizons. I'm looking
Right.
at, do you know, Rob?
Rob Curry.
Thanks for bringing the CCC to us. Well, thank you for being there to receive it. You like that?
Right. We'll serve it up if you'll take it.
Absolutely, piping hot.
Right.
So, the other thing, like, I wanted you to talk a little bit about the other things that you do,
Mm.
because I think that we'll definitely talk about it. But I'm inspired
Mm.
by what you do.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I left my job a few months ago back in August to really focus on talking about spiritual shit as queer folks. I grew up I grew up religious. I grew up like heart in Jesus and all that stuff. And then all of a sudden I became who I am and that didn't quite jive and it caused a lot of pain and a lot of trauma. And I've done the work to heal. And so I feel like, I think we learn this in recovery, but like in order to keep it, you have to give it away. And so I feel like because I have been healed I'm experiencing healing. I'm not completely like fixed by no means, but I think, for so long I was a hurt person who just hurt people. And
Yeah,
that was never my intention, but because I never dealt with my hurt, all I could do is transmit it.
yeah,
And so now that I have healing, I'm really hoping that I can somehow transmit healing versus the hurt. And so through podcasts and interviewing drag folks and trans folks and other folks who are thought to maybe not be allowed to be in spaces of.
absolutely. Who maybe feel like on the outside, and it's interesting because one of the things that I know, like I've been fortunate enough to feel it like I belong everywhere I go.
Mhm.
And that's not the case for a lot of folk.
Yes.
And just because I don't see it or it doesn't happen to me doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So I
Mhm.
think having something like this and really kind of maybe the same way like in recovery we do where things are repetitive, where I'm
Mhm.
constantly telling you that yes, this is a space for you,
Right.
that you are welcome, or even just having these faces that we have, or presenting this way.
Mhm.
Sometimes that's more than enough to have somebody say, okay, yeah, like great story for me. I used to pass by the steps for the club,
Mhm.
and I never thought like I didn't know what was in there. I was curious,
Mhm.
I was a curious.
You're like, they're playing golf in the back?
I know
No?
something's going on, something's going on, and it wasn't until I got to see folks that I kind of knew already that I found my way to the club. I found
Mhm.
my way in, and one of the beautiful things, if you live in San Francisco or if you've known, like we have the steps that lead up to the entrance of the club,
Mhm.
and a lot of times you'll see folks congregating on those steps,
Yeah.
and it's just a warm and kind of friendly kind of environment at times.
Yeah, it can get a little crazy.
Aw, Olivia, you brighten our day.
Yeah.
If you don't know who I'm talking about, Miss Olivia Hart, former Grand Duchess in the community, extremely active, just amazing.
Yes. Thanks so much for joining us this evening. Well, I think the big thing too, it's like the thing that I'm really excited about this as well is, I feel like my recovery has been something that's been very kind of private and personal. And there are certain things that I haven't, I feel like it's really about just becoming more of a whole person and becoming more integrated, like like I'm trans, and that's been my experience for years now, but it's not something I've shared in the rooms. I've had she pronouns for 7 years, but I think people are just now like learning that I've been in the rooms with for a long time. And so this last year I've been able to really just kind of open up, because I was so scared, because we're talking about these things that separate us, these things that get in our way of like staying in recovery or being in recovery with other people. And I think for me, that was something for a while that I was scared to bring into the rooms, because I didn't know, I was afraid to lose my recovery and my fellowship and that connection. And so for a long time, I wasn't willing to bring some parts of myself into those spaces.
I think we all go through that. I think we definitely go through that, and really it's
wise to do that too, I think.
Well, I always say it's like with recovery or anything, like, usually it takes us being willing for ourselves to kind of step outside of our comfort zone, to take some risks, to get to, I guess, to dive into action. And it's scary. It's kind of like it's that brick wall, but it's the hardest, easiest thing that you've ever had to do, because it's easier in retrospect to say, oh my God, I can't believe it took that long for me to take this step.
Right.
But the thing about it, I don't think that I think that we are, we don't give folks enough credit.
Ourselves.
Now, mind you, there are people who are going to react the way we think they're going to react. But yeah, for the most part, we don't give people. Oh, look at we got people chatting.
We can't put it on.
I see my former Miss Castro Country Club, MGM Grand, wanted us to say something nice about her.
Can we do we have any? I mean, I know we have lots of nice things to say, just nothing's coming to mind at the moment.
Well, she can type.
Right?
Yeah.
And Brandon, if you like click on them, it'll bring them up on the screen if you want to like give anybody if you click on it in the comments. But anyway, we can.
So another thing we definitely.
Oh, there she is.
Aw. Another thing we want to talk about, like, so recovery, and we're going to, like, over the time that we do this podcast, we're going to talk more about recovery and the different types of recovery. But I think that the beautiful thing about the country club is that there's not any one program that is, well, maybe more folks from a certain program, but they're not one program that dominates what the club is about.
Right.
The club is about safe recovery. It's about sober space, because we have folks who are not in any recovery program who come and who utilize a space. And I think that that's what makes this beautiful. It's like another community space, because there are so many different types of, like, either 12-step programs, or there are there's a smart recovery, there's a Buddhist, what is that called?
Well, and there's like harm reduction, there's refuge to recovery.
Yeah, the Buddhist practice.
There's 12-step, there's, OA, there's, which is Overeaters Anonymous, there's, even Debtors Anonymous. There's a lot of things that we could be recovering from. And much like the Castro Country Club is, this podcast is a space in which we really want to take the time to talk about all of these forms of recovery, and in a way to try to have us all like be more connected, rather than a way of saying, this is my program, this is your program. By the way, you're not doing it right. You're doing as we said, the California sober. What is that?
Oh, the California sober. Yeah.
Thanks to Demi Lovato. What was that?
Yeah, no, we were talking about this. As we're in the process of thinking about doing this. I mean, the two of us, like, coming up with, like, our reasons why to do it, and this idea of California recovery. And I have to say, honestly, like, when I first heard that, I had judgment, and I was like, but after a while I realized, recovery and how you do recovery is up to you.
It's personal.
I mean, it's a personal thing. And I think that, there are some folks who wear their recovery like a badge of honor and show themselves. And there are other people who are, like I said, very private about it. And there's no right or wrong way to do it.
Right.
It's just to do it.
Right. But kind of like what you said earlier, it was this idea of like, what did you say earlier that I was trying to think of? Oh, that like us kind of holding back parts of ourselves. Like, it's a journey. It's not like we're going to fix it all tomorrow. And so it might, like, maybe our end goal is abstinence at some point in time, but I don't know about you, but for me, like I happen to be abstinent in like an abstinence program now. Like I'm completely again, like don't use any drugs or alcohol. But there was a time when I did, like maybe I drank differently, or I
Absolutely.
stopped doing meth, but I
Yeah.
still drank, or, you know, so I think, and, you know, so it took me a while to get to a space to where I could like really hold on to the idea of like abstinence.
Yeah.
For me.
I think that it definitely, I can only speak for myself, but it was a process because it took me a really long time, like through my active addiction, to kind of get to a place where I acknowledged that maybe I did need abstinence. And we are going to talk about a harm reduction and how that works, because I believe that I'm practicing harm reduction now. Harm reduction for me is not using. It's complete abstinence.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I don't think that the two are kind of separate.
Exactly,
You know,
yeah.
I think that they work together the way they work together. I think whatever it takes for you to get to a place of self-love, no more harm, you know, it's important.
Yeah, definitely. Congrats. I see Christine has 32 years of sober and clean.
Yes, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Woohoo.
That is a long
Absolutely.
freaking time. Either we're not even that old, right?
No. Are you kidding? 32. God,
Lies. This is we're honest
I
program.
know this is an honest program.
I'm 42. I just have to put it out
32 and a half. No.
Right.
Yeah. The other thing that's beautiful about the country club, about the CCC, is that it's a place to fellowship. I think that what tends to happen, regardless of what type of recovery you're doing, you get to a place where I believe that something that's extremely radical is doing nothing. You get to a place where now you have awareness that something needs to change, that something that you were doing wasn't working, and all of a sudden you want to make it better all of it right away, and you can't.
Right.
And I don't know where I heard this from. MGM, my friend Michael, he repeated a lot, and so I totally stole it and made it mine. But you can't walk 100 miles into the forest and turn around and be out all of a sudden. I think with anything, takes time. And so the beautiful thing about this is that you get to do that at, you know, I always say, I wish you a long, slow recovery. And that's not my quote. That's just something we say. But you get to do that with other people who are doing the same thing here. Yeah. And it's a beautiful thing.
It is definitely a beautiful thing. Where do we go from here? So one of the things that we really wanted to be able to do is engage with you all. You know, we like figure out, like we think we know what we want to talk about and what you need to hear. But we'd love to hear from you all about topics that you would want us to talk about, whether it's challenges that you're having in your own recovery, or maybe other people's recovery, or, you know, any of those sorts of things. You know, we've been, you know, I think we're living in an interesting time in 2021 where, you know, there's a lot of coming to see things more clearly. I think maybe that's a better way. You know, things that had always been there. You know, there'd always been an issue about race in recovery rooms.
Absolutely.
Always been an issue around gender, and sex and sexuality and mental health and medications and abstinence versus, you know, harm reduction. And so that's a lot of what we want to spend some time talking on are those different areas that sometimes are thought about as outside issues, and some of the more fundamental. Is that a bad word?
Because I think specifically like in 12-step, if you do 12-step where we have singleness of purpose, I think the goal here, and like we said in our opening, that, you know, we how do we put it? Like, there are no outside issues, that everything is open. And another thing, something beautiful that I learned recently, because initially I was thinking we want to create a safe space, but Bonnie opened me up to the idea. Opened you up to the idea of this idea of brave spaces. And can you explain that a little?
Yeah. So, you know, I think safe space is something that we hear a lot of, and I don't think it's something that we can really claim to have or provide to somebody. Safe is it's relative. You know, we all have different ideas of what's safe, what we're comfortable with, what we're uncomfortable with. And so the idea of brave space is to step into a space knowing that it might be uncomfortable and it might be There might be, I mean, there just might be some things that are happening that aren't comfortable and probably shouldn't happen. And maybe, I don't know, like knowing that we're going to work in a space of like bettering that, so it's not in the sense of like, well, let's just pretend that that's not happening. Let's just ignore it. Let's just accept that that's just the way it is. That's the way it's always been. We're not saying that. We're actually saying, are you able to come into this space and then talk about it? So that it's not just the way that it always is, so we can potentially change. And again, we're creating better space for more people in recovery.
And I think that that we're definitely going to do it by inviting others who maybe have more experience on certain topics to participate with us, possibly other community members to kind of sit and have a conversation. I always thought that the best way to kind of begin this work is just to open your mouth and talk, because there are lots of things that I think I know that I don't really know. And I think that what's wonderful is having the willingness, like we talk about, to kind of say, I don't know.
Right.
One of the things we talked about, like, before this was like, remember I was communicating to you about like, if I find that maybe I'm moving in the wrong direction, or I'm maybe am unclear, I'm trying to find a different, there is nothing wrong with putting me back on course. I think that it's a beautiful thing to be able to kind of help to correct our course in real time, to show folks how it can be done. Because I think that that's what's going to make us all problem solvers. That's what's going to help us to kind of get to the next step together.
Right. I agree, because there are going to be times when maybe you or I slip up or say something, or, that's not quite the best way.
Yeah.
Or maybe we're not seeing things clearly. And, we've agreed to like tell one another that, hey, like this maybe could be said a little bit differently, or ouch, that kind of hurt when you
Absolutely.
said that.
I think too, it's like, and being open to like acknowledging that maybe you were wrong. And because the only way to make this a true space that is open for more is to allow opinions,
Right.
Different points of view, to kind of be heard. Because I think awareness for me is always like really kind of essential.
Right. And we invite you to do the same for us. Like if there's something that we're talking about and we're not talking about it in a way that is the best, please do let us know. Try to allow us some grace and be kind about it, but please do let us know. We're wanting to learn from this process, and we're wanting to bring people along with us. And so, we're going to our plan is to have guests on the show fairly regularly, and maybe segments where folks get to share a bit of their story.
Absolutely.
Maybe spotlight some of the other recovery programs. So keep an eye out for ways that you could participate, potentially by either maybe being a guest, or letting us know who you think would be a great guest, topics that you think would be good, or even if you just want to, at some point send in a little 3-minute, like testimony.
Yeah,
or
testimony.
Share.
Yeah, exactly. And again, it does not matter like what your recovery looks like. Just yeah.
Yeah, we just want to know, and we want to hear. We want to hear from you as well. Yeah. So where do we go from here?
Well, we can talk about what's happening this week at the country club.
Okay.
So this Saturday coming, I don't know if any of you guys know about the Mascara Show. Now, this is a monthly drag show that features a lot of amazing sober drag queens. It's a lot of fun because of the pandemic, and actually the kind of inventiveness, or the kind of we were able to move it online, and through Twitch TV, they have the Mascara Show hosted by the current Miss Castro Country Club, Miss Bobby Friday, and absolutely amazing. What is her other title?
And this week, her other title.
Oh,
she's going to get us.
I know she's going to get us. Miss
California Gold.
Miss California Gold.
There we go.
Yes,
yeah.
Miss California Gold.
And this Saturday's theme is 90s. So that should be a lot of fun.
And I believe we don't have information about it, but the pageant's coming up soon too. The
Miss Castro Country Club pageant.
It's coming up in June.
Mhm.
And at our next show, we'll have more details. Trust me, we're going to let you know. And then we have every year we have an AIDS walk team. We're raising much needed funds. We look at there's the
There it
website on there.
says.
I've already raised money. I was like, I'm super happy.
Right. So there's the link there. So you guys can join our team and help us raise money. You can either just give money or you can actually, become a walker. So are we walking for realsies this year?
I think last year raised money virtually, but then they were able to go like one day, one weekend day and kind of walk the distance. And I think we'll find some creative way to do that.
Right. So it's not like 1,000 people walking all at once. It's
No.
You get to walk on your own and kind of track your time.
Yeah, you get to track your
miles.
time. Exactly.
Awesome. That sounds great. We're getting so good at figuring out how to do things now with less. It's unfortunate, but with being able to be with as many
what's
people
going to happen
anymore.
is like once we're going to be so like well versed at this and everything's going to open back up and we're going to have to readjust.
I'm scared for that.
I know.
Everybody's going to be out in the streets.
Actually, no, you know what's going to happen? It's like, I think that we are going to, what I know to be true is like, I was afraid of like the whole Zoom thing and just doing things FaceTime because I thought I would be missing out on that kind of intimacy. But I think that we kind of like with early recovery, how they figured out that you can remote transmit recovery through the mail.
Right.
We're learning, we're expanding.
Yes.
We're expanding our understanding of things. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it'll be interesting to see, because I don't know about you, but I've seen in this opportunity, even though it's been a little disconnected, I've been able to meet people that I wouldn't have met outside of like anywhere else. I've seen more people of color. I've seen more trans people. I've seen more folks who aren't able to come to a meeting room anytime, let alone just during shelter in place.
That's something else that's like, I talked to a lot of my fellows who like had kind of maybe stopped going to meetings a little, but not as regularly, and find that they have all the time in the day to sign into a meeting. Like I've been going to meetings like 7 days a week almost, and that's pretty amazing. Yeah, because I mean, what happens is, as you get sober, your life expands, it gets bigger, and then you have to find a way to make all of that work. Yeah. Look at this. Who is? Hi, Robert.
Hi, Robert.
No, I just said hi. I keep seeing people sign in, and I'm not really sure. Hi. Aw.
It's like, how do we engage with these folks, huh?
Yes.
So glad that you all could join us.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. It's like this is like our official first conversation with you.
Right. Do you have any questions for us?
Any questions?
Oh, hey,
Luke. Hi, Luke.
Luke, aka Ashley Madison.
Ashley Madison, the former Miss Castro Country Club, and really kind of she's been an amazing support for us for this podcast. Yeah, exactly.
Pretty soon we'll start looking super profesh. You're gonna see these cool little like logos and promo videos, and you're gonna be like, "What the heck?"
I know.
And,
it's like,
thanks to Ashley Madison, a lot of that's gonna come
exactly
into fruition. You can't just stop it come into, right? You gotta finish that sentence.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, now, let's, I think that it's okay to talk about some of the topics that we kind of want to talk about, like the coming up. Like we want to talk about mental health.
Yeah.
Talk about issues of sex. Talk about
sex.
Sex.
Did somebody say?
Well,
a little promo video.
Yeah, no, it's like I'm all that can be. I was joking. I think that can probably be 2 or 3 parts.
Yeah. Well, and I think, I mean, I'm really excited about talking about mental health a little bit. And in particular, just like, I think, around therapy, but also, medication. I went many years depressed. And my sponsor, like after a lot of convincing, like finally, she was like, girl, like, just like, I think if you had some antidepressants, you'd be a little bit better, but I was like so afraid that it would like affect my recovery in some way, or some way it was like me regressing in my health, because I was on antidepressants before recovery and in early recovery. And so like me getting off of antidepressants was me thinking that like somehow I was better and healthier, and to go back on medication was like some sort of regression. But I'll tell you, it was probably one of the better choices I made for myself in order to kind of like, continue on with my recovery.
Yeah, obviously, I think it would be great to have conversations so that we kind of changes the stigma around doing these things, because sometimes a big part of what you need, you can't just find in the rooms. You can't just
Mhm.
find in a support group. You need the type of help that only a professional of some sort can provide, or that medication. And uh, early recovery, early recovery for me, it's like I had a therapist prescribe Celexa for me,
Mm.
and it was mainly for focus.
Is
And
that for erectile dysfunction?
well, you know what? It's like I was worried that it was going to cause erectile dysfunction,
Gotcha.
but it did not do anything. I think the thing that curbed my sexual appetite was all the weight that I gained,
Mm.
which was a beautiful thing. It's like you come come off a really long run, 110 pounds.
Right.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the sex conversations are going to be really great too. Like I feel like there's so many narratives around sex, like when to have it, when not to have it, what type to have it in order to be like, I guess, healthy and in recovery. And I don't know about you, but like I've had more sex in recovery, and better sex and healthier sex, and maybe more STDs, but still
Uh,
like,
you know what? Honestly, yeah, I agree with you. It's like I think that what it's come down for me is like being present. I
Mhm.
mean, because I thought before that when I was doing all of those things in my active addiction, that I was empowering myself. It's like I
Mm.
am a woman of the
A
a
woman,
woman of the 90s. It's like,
right?
and I'm charting my own course or whatever. But the truth of it is that I was a slave to through the things that I needed. I
Mm.
wasn't making choices based on what I needed. I was making choices on
Right.
based on what I had to have because of my addiction.
A lot of going to the hardware store for a gallon of milk.
Exactly,
Like trying
exactly.
to get something else from that. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Mhm.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
And then other topics. Uh, we're going to talk about sponsorship. We're going to talk about the
Friends
different
and family,
friends and
like
family.
how to
Yeah.
support people in recovery, and maybe also hear from people who have or are supporting people in recovery,
Uh huh.
which I think also leads to the other parts that I think are really difficult in recovery is, I know for me, like we get around people in recovery, and like being in recovery is like such like a big deal. And it's not something that a lot of people get into. And so the more I'm in recovery, the more people die,
Yeah,
from
absolutely.
like overdose or suicide or, lots of other things. And so that can be a difficult thing to kind of deal with.
To
And so,
navigate, yeah, definitely dealing with death and loss mainly. Yeah,
mhm,
yeah.
yes. And
And then one of the other topics that we're talking about is finding your voice, because I
mm,
think that there's this process that I think that a lot of folks in recovery, or a lot of folks recovering from whatever, all of a sudden it's like you no longer have this whatever you had as a on your back, and you have some freedom, and now it's time to figure out how to use that freedom.
mm,
And I think that they talk about the stages of group formation, like forming, storming, norming, and performing,
mm,
or performing. Yeah, what basically the whole idea is uh, like for me, I'll give an example. Like I found my voice, but it was messy in the beginning,
right?
and
You're like
I
screaming.
I was screaming,
Yeah.
and I was not polite at all, not polite
Mhm.
in a good way. And then I had to do some work around that. And then I toned it down. And now I'm able to kind of know when to raise my voice and know when to not raise my voice,
Right.
which is the key. I mean, if we're going to, in order to have effective, solid communication. Yeah.
Yeah. It can take some skill to get to that place.
Yeah. And I think that's the beautiful thing about the beautiful
The
thing about
beautiful.
this thing, because we get to have these conversations. We get to invite you to participate with us, and we get to learn from each other and grow. And I think that anything that we do, if I'm missing an opportunity to make it a learning thing, to grow from it, then I don't want to say it's a waste, but I'm wasting what it could be.
Mm-hmm. It's
Yeah.
like, how can you make it useful?
Yeah, exactly.
Then it makes things that like, it makes the shitty things that happen in life like worthwhile when you can like, I don't know, help somebody else through it or whatever. It's a way to kind of just change that experience for someone.
Absolutely.
Everyone's being really quiet. They're like, no questions, no sass, none of that's going on. Especially with you see the names of the people in there. They all could be super sassy.
I know exactly. It's like, maybe we have them. They're mesmerized.
But they're like, oh my gosh, they're hanging on every word.
Yeah. So we want to remind you to definitely share and like and look for us weekly, because we're going to be doing this weekly around this time, 6 o'clock, same bat time, same bat channel. It'll.
Right. And our hope is that you'll be able to catch us live at 6 o'clock, and you can find us on Castro Country Club Facebook, as well as there's a Twitch and YouTube. So you can subscribe to either of those or friend Facebook so that you get notifications when we go live. And then that way you can interact with us when we're live. If for whatever reason you're not able to join us while we're here, you can find the videos on those platforms. They'll live there. As well as you'll be able to listen to us on a podcast. So wherever you listen to podcasts, you would be able to search for at the CCC. You'll find me and Lulu, and you'll get to listen to what it was we had to say the week before.
Yeah, I love that. They'll live there.
They'll live there.
They'll
Yes,
live there.
You and I will just be stuck there, like
let me out of this
talking
box.
with mute.
It's there waiting to talk to you.
We're just going to be hanging out in these squares till somebody clicks to listen.
Absolutely.
Right. So our goal is to probably have like a 45 minutes to an hour show normally.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't, I was like wondering how far we want to take it tonight. Like, are we feeling that we've hit a good space to kind of
I think we have, because it's like, again, it's like I said earlier, it's like, I think that in introducing ourselves, it's going to be what we talk about and how we talk about it I think that you'll get to know us.
Yeah. This is just foreplay.
Yeah, this is foreplay. It's like I'm going to tickle you a little.
Right. Yeah. Give you the eyes from across the room.
Exactly. How are you doing?
Right. Yes. Then you can find glitter on your other body parts later.
Exactly.
Not the first date.
Exactly. So,
did what? Oh, did we want to say goodbye?
No.
Or to further support?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've constantly, I'm going to keep saying share, and support the Castro Country Club. But we just want you to know that the Country Club is a clean and sober gathering place for people and a home for the queer recovery community. And we endeavor to be a space where all can seek wisdom, serenity, courage, and joy.
Have a great evening and a good week, and we'll catch you. We'll see you next Tuesday.
At the CCC
at 6 p.m.
Bye.
There we go. We did it.